Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Boy, we had a great day in just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota at the MyPillow headquarters during the Mike Gallagher Show. I'll talk with you more about that, but a lot of you responded in a big way. We had a huge day for MyPillow and the Patriots and the great employees, and, of course, Mike Lindell himself. Today's a momentous day, 100 days of Trump 2-0, and the Democrats are in full-blown panic, with Kamala Harris planning a major speech this week. We have a preview of what to expect. New information, the illegal migrant who was busted for snatching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's Gucci purse was picked up by cops in New York for a similar crime just a few weeks earlier, and as you guessed, was released. One major grocery chain has made it clear to its suppliers, don't even think about raising prices using tariffs as an excuse. And more legal challenges for New York Attorney General, as an ethics complaint against Letitia James calls for the New York State courts to investigate fraud claims being made by the Trump administration. It's a busy one. Let's jump in.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The illegal migrant who was busted for taking Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's very expensive purse was picked up by cops, we are now learning, in New York for a very similar crime just a few weeks earlier. But they let him go with a desk appearance ticket and a court date, as if he was going to come back. The NYPD's warrant squad was hunting for Chilean national Mario Bustamante. He's 49 years old, because he never showed up in court, so they're looking for him, of course. When he allegedly ripped off Secretary Noem during Easter dinner with her family at a Washington, D.C. burger bar, law enforcement says that they had been looking for him for previous crimes. After walking away with Miss Noem's purse, which contained $3,000 in cash, by the way. That's another topic. Who carries $3,000 in cash around in their purse? But she did. Had her passport, her wallet, government ID. He jumped on a bus and headed up to a bar at Angelo Ristorante Italiano, where he had a few drinks to about midnight or so, ran up a charge of $205.87 on the DHS's Chiefs American Express, of course. We know this because of documents released by prosecutors yesterday. The feds also released surveillance images of Bustamante wearing a white face mask and a baseball cap before and after he allegedly stole Secretary Noem's $4,000 luxury bag from under her feet at the Capitol Burger. Another picture allegedly showed the accused serial thief at Angelo, this Italian restaurant, with Noem's Gucci bag clearly in view while chatting on a cell phone. I mean, he wasn't really trying to hide. He was picked up in a lot of different places there. Look, this was a high-profile theft. He had a bad streak of luck when he stole the DHS's purse, DHS secretary's purse. He just picked the wrong person. He admitted to stealing Miss Noem's bag, but he said he didn't know who she was. Well, of course he didn't know who she was. I'm sure he would have gone a long way out of his way to have avoided snatching the DHS's secretary's purse. Bustamante has a rap sheet that includes a 2021 shoplifting arrest in Utah and a headline-grabbing bust across the pond in London in 2015. This guy is a serial crook. He was arrested there for a months-long theft spree, charged with stealing $28,000 worth of phones, wallets, and computers. Now, he landed on the New York Police Department's radar on March the 2nd after he swiped a fanny pack from a Times Square shop there. He ran up $1,200 in credit card charges in just 20 minutes. Now, the victim, who was an international student from India, explained that he had just left his bag at a restaurant for just a few minutes. When he realized he had left it, he immediately returned, but it was already gone. Good Samaritans pointed out who the thief was. They had seen him take it. They described him as a little old man wearing a COVID mask. Yeah, this is just another reason that we shouldn't allow adults to be wearing masks out in the public. He learned that he could wear this mask and try to help conceal his identity. Didn't work. Cops were able to find Bustamante in about 30 minutes. But, of course, the damage is already done. He had already run up this student's credit card charges. The victim, according to the New York Post, lives in Jersey City. Asked not to be named, said he's furious that Bustamante was let go with just a desk appearance ticket after being arrested. The student said, "That's insane. I don't know how he was let out after that without any reason." He said, putting in so much effort and then coming to the States and experiencing something like that intrigued my frightened side. Oh, I bet it did. He said he's still out $500 at the credit card company never reimbursed him for. So after his arrest, NYPD cops gave Bustamante, who said he lived in the Bronx at the time, a desk appearance ticket on 4th-degree felony grand larceny charges and released him. When he didn't show up for his court date, officers went looking for him. Now, here's the kicker. Of course, New York's sanctuary laws meant that the NYPD was not allowed to report him to federal immigration authorities, despite being in the country illegally. It's unclear whether Bustamante's previous bust showed up on his criminal record when the Manhattan officers arrested him and let him go. But it is common, according to the Post, for the NYPD to hand out tickets and court dates to people arrested for lower level theft, even if it's a felony, like it was in this case. Now, the people who he stole for wouldn't consider their theft a lower level criminal conduct, would they? They want their stuff back. They want their money back. They want the credit card charges back. Bustamante and his accomplice in the Kristi Noem bag snatch, his name was Christian Rodrigo Montesino. They're believed to be part of a large East Coast robbery organization, according to officials. The two men allegedly work together and have committed similar robbery schemes across the U.S., and we've just let them do that. He's been arrested or suspected of criminal activity in a number of other East Coast cities. And New York had him, let him go. Bustamante told investigators that he's an alcoholic and that he has memory problems. But he clearly remembered taking the Gucci bag from Miss Noem. He said he kept the wallet and the purse, but dumped the other contents in the trash. This is according to police reports. He claimed to have no idea who Noem was and didn't remember who he stole it from. In addition to his splurge at the D.C. Red Sauce joint, feds accused Bustamante of using this his criminal gains from this string of other robberies nearby in the preceding days, again blowing other people's cash to buy liquor, to buy expensive food, including a bottle of very expensive Cabernet Sauvignon. He had good taste in wine, I guess. He also bought gift cards worth hundreds of dollars with credit cards and cash stolen from the bags because the gift cards are harder to trace. That's a very common ploy. That's why quite often if around Christmas time, if you have trouble buying gift cards for people, it's because you're kind of tagged in the systems. And in places like Walgreens and Dollar General stores and these places, they'll only sell you a certain amount of gift cards. This is try to crack down on this type of crime. It's very common. And that's why they question you when you are buying gift cards with a credit card. In these other incidents where he had credit cards and cash from other people, 2 on April 17th at a D.C. coffee shop and a Westin Hotel restaurant. One was at another restaurant on April 12th. Bustamante demonstrated his, let's just say, sticky-fingered prowess by approaching his victims, slipping bags from their chairs, or using his legs to covertly inch their belongings closer to him in order to grab it. How do we know this? Because of security footage showing it. Again, you can't do anything these days in a public place that's not going to be on a security camera somewhere. On April the 12th, he was careful to slip a jacket over his arm before approaching his victim, and with the help of an accomplice, he allegedly swiped the bag from his victim and hid it under his coat before just walking off in plain sight. And again, he used credit cards. He stayed at a Motel 6 and a Quality Inn over the following days on their dime. And the Democrats don't understand why people are just fed up with these illegals in our country. He's a prime example of someone who should have never been allowed in here and should have been deported immediately when he was arrested in New York. You agree? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan, and I never took Ozempic or any of those other weight loss shots. Joey Hudson here. Before you take a drug, here's something you should know. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the appetite-fighting hormone that these popular drugs copy. But the PhD weight loss program helps your body make it on its own. No side effects, no long-term risk, no major muscle loss, and no rebound weight gain when you stop. Just natural, lasting results. Before Big Pharma was dancing around in commercials, Dr. Ashley Lucas was doing the real work, helping people lose weight naturally and keeping it off, all without hunger or cravings. At PhD Weight Loss, you'll learn what to eat, when to eat, and how to flip your fat-burning switch without a shot. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma. You can do this without drugs. Right now, the first 11 callers get 2 weeks free added to their program, 15% off when you fully commit to the program, a free supplemental bundle, and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or online at myphdweightloss.com. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, Tuesday, marking a beautiful milestone. 100 days of President Donald J. Trump's second term in the White House. 100 days of restoring order. 100 days of common sense. 100 days of watching the left go absolutely bananas. That's probably the most fun part of it all, isn't it? And I'm going to tell you something. Nothing sums up their panic quite like knowing that Kamala Harris is back. That's right. The former vice president, who couldn't even hold her base together in an election year where the entire media, academia, the entertainment industry all bent over backwards for her, but she lost miserably. Well, she's stepping back onto the stage. She's popping up in San Francisco, a Democrat safe space where failed policies go to die and where no real challenge ever reaches the stage. She's expected, according to insiders, to vigorously rebuke President Donald Trump. The woman who spent her campaign repeating empty slogans is now going to lecture us on leadership. So here's the story. Supposedly, she'll be at some gala for Emerge America, which is a candidate training program for Democrat women. Now, I assume that means training them to lose elections, maybe. I don't know. Run from accountability. Maybe write passive-aggressive tweets. I'm joking, of course. Well, actually, I'm not. Don't forget the theme. The slogan of slogans, courage is contagious. Now, what does that mean, actually? Courage, courageous, like refusing to take questions on Afghanistan, maybe? Courageous like hiding for 6 months while the Democrat Party collapses under its own hypocrisy and coastal elitism. This is what they're calling resistance now, I guess. A speech in a ballroom surrounded by donors, some, let's just assume, expensive wine, while Trump is out reshaping global alliances and putting pressure on Putin like no one else dares. Where Trump is actually getting things done. Where Trump is doing things that we recognize are making a difference. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because while Kamala is off rehearsing her buzzwords, the Democrat Party is imploding. It's a civil war, a full-blown fracture. You've got three Democrat factions all clawing at each other. And they don't even know what one another really believes. First up, the burn it all down wing of the Democrat Party, led by none other than this young David Hogg, the activist turned vice chair of the DNC. He's going after his own party, promising to primary so-called asleep-at-the-wheel Democrats using his super PAC money. Now, folks, when your 25-year-old VP is publicly threatening the leadership, I think the bus has probably already gone off the cliff, don't you? DNC Chair Ken Martin last week tried to rein him in. He gave him an ultimatum. We talked about it on Friday, I think it was. If you missed that one, go back and listen on the podcast. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth on the Odyssey app or wherever you listen to podcasts. So we had Ken Martin, the DNC chair, tried to rein Hogg in. He gave him an ultimatum. Drop the scorcher strategy or give up your post. And what happened? Hogg just doubled down. He is initiating these high-profile primary challenges now popping up all across the country in these with these Democrat incumbents. Then there's the other faction within the Democrat Party are the go meet voters where they are wing. And it sounds reasonable, right? Until you realize that it means Democrats showing up on MAGA-friendly podcasts, desperately trying to sound normal, like the voters they abandoned last year, and they expect people to believe them. Gavin Newsom, for example, he's now talking to right-wingers on his show, probably hoping no one remembers that he turned California into a tent city. Pete Buttigieg shows up on a comedy podcast to try to appear as if he's still in the game, as if he is still important to the Democrat Party. We'll see. And, of course, you have the progressives, the good old reliable progressives, Bernie Sanders, AOC, the populist caravan. They're taking on the fighting oligarchy, they say. They're touring parts of the country that they say Democrats have forgotten. They've got energy. I'll give that to them. They can get a good crowd together, yell and scream. But it's the energy wrapped in socialism, in an unhealthy obsession with billionaires who pay more taxes than probably anybody in the room. I mean, they're hitting the road with their message of grievance. It's not about lifting people up. It's about pulling others down. That's what passes for inspiration in today's Democrat Party base. And what unites these three clown shows? One simple truth. They all admit that the brand is broken, that the Democrat Party is hurting. The Democrat Party is out of touch. They recognize that. According to a Washington Post poll, not exactly a bastion of conservatism, but 69% of Americans say the Democrats don't understand regular people anymore. 69%. Now, if that's not a wake-up call, they can't be fixed. And Kamala Harris thinks some speech about contagious courage in San Francisco is going to fix it. That, again, just shows how out of touch she was and continues to be. She hasn't said now if she's running again. But if she does, she's probably walking into a different party. One that's divided. One that's disillusioned because she failed so miserably last year. And a Democrat Party that is desperate. More desperate than they have been in years. A party that's turning on itself faster than Biden forgets the city he's in. I read that somewhere. Meanwhile, Donald Trump 100 days. He's leading. He's not playing footsie with the tyrants. He's calling out Putin. He's building real coalition. And most importantly, as promised, he's putting America first. He understands what the average American like you and me, what we need, what we want from our leaders, and the country that we want to live in. And here's the important thing. While the Democrats are throwing their tantrums, they're staging their protest and their rebellion, arguing over who gets to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, we're watching history being made. Real leadership is in Washington again. We're seeing leadership in the White House, and the people, the American people, they have awakened, and I don't think we're going to want to go back. For you football fans, Philadelphia Eagles star Jalen Hurts reportedly made a decision on whether he would attend the team's Super Bowl celebration at the White House and decided against it. Reportedly, Hurts did not attend due to, quote, scheduling conflicts. The word of Hurts' decision came hours before the celebration was going to take place. Hurts raised eyebrows last week when he dodged a question on the red carpet for the Tom 100 Gala about attending the celebration. He didn't give a glowing review of the president's decision to attend the Super Bowl, you may recall, which saw Philadelphia defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22 as a blowout. He said back in February he's welcome to do what he wants. Meanwhile, running back Saquon Barkley was seen with President Trump at his golf course in New Jersey on Sunday, and he got a flight back on Air Force One with the president to D.C. Barkley pushed back on the criticism he received on social media for his friendliness with the president, saying, laugh out loud, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. He wrote this on X. Maybe I just respect the office, not a hard concept to understand. Just golf with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. He went on to say, now you get out my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. Eagles team owner Jeffrey Lurie and head coach Nick Sirianni have both expressed their excitement to be at the White House. So I say just get over it, Jalen Hurts. He's president of the United States. He's your president. By the way, one more thing. While the Philadelphia Eagles were at the White House for their visit, the president, of course, was the first sitting president to attend the Super Bowl, okay? And who else was there? Do you recall? Taylor Swift, of course, along with about 65,000 others. Watched the Eagles just literally blow out the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, at this White House meeting of the winners, the president said it was incredible. I was a little surprised. And then he went on to say, I was there along with Taylor Swift. He said, how did that one work out? Of course, the very popular singer who's in a high-profile relationship with the Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce was loudly booed to her apparent surprise when she was shown on the big screen during the game. Moments earlier, President Trump, upon his arrival, was greeted with applause and cheers when he was shown during the pregame performance of the Star-Spangled Banner. And I'm sure Taylor Swift didn't quite know how to react to that. The blowout capped off a rough few months for Swift. She had endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris against Trump in the 2024 election. Nobody seemed to care. She had, of course, backed Joe Biden for a number of years, too. The president, of course, took a poke at Swift on social media right after the game, writing on True Social, the only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving, he wrote. He can't help himself sometimes, can he? He had to interject that during the White House visit of the Super Bowl champions. All right, are the chickens about to come home to roost in New York State? Letitia James, the Attorney General who built a career obsessively targeting Donald Trump, is now, of course, under investigation. We learned this a couple of weeks ago now. Well, there's another investigation. This time, an ethics complaint has just been filed against her by America First Legal. That's on top of a criminal referral over alleged mortgage fraud. Now, this isn't just some political noise. This is serious stuff, and I hope she's taking it seriously. The same Letitia James who puffed her chest and promised to hold Trump accountable is now facing accusations that she falsified mortgage records to score favorable loan terms. So let's be clear about this. If these allegations are true, she lied to the federal government for financial gain. That is a crime. It's not just unethical, it's criminal. Now, Dan Epstein at the America First Legal, he said it best when he said, quote, public accountability will serve as a cure to Letitia James's endless lawfare and abuse of power. And he's right, isn't he? Miss James turned the justice system into a political weapon. Now she's having to fight it off herself. She used her office not to serve the people of New York, but to go after her political rival, and now it's blowing up in her face. How does she respond? She hires high-powered D.C. fixer Abby Lowell and screens political retribution and racism, of course. That's really, really rich coming from the same person who launched an entire civil case against Donald Trump for allegedly inflating property values with some of his property owned by Trump, by the Trump organization. Something every developer in America has probably been accused of at one point or another. The banks and the insurance companies, the alleged victims, all said during the trial that they hadn't been harmed, that they didn't depend on all of the evaluations, that they did their own. So here's what we have with Letitia James. Just a quick reminder, a quick summary of what she did or what she's accused of doing. First, the Virginia home. Miss James allegedly declared it as her primary residence to secure a mortgage despite working full-time in New York. She was the elected attorney general who by law has to be a resident of New York. Her lawyer now says, oh, it was a mistake. Just some power of attorney confusion. Sure, because high-ranking state officials just accidentally mark properties as primary residence all the time, right? Then there's the Brooklyn property. James allegedly inflated the number of livable units to get better loan terms. Her defense team says the documentation was updated, but the Federal Housing Finance Agency isn't buying it. They're pointing to discrepancies that suggest outright fraud by the Attorney General. Meanwhile, and this is the same Letitia James who told Trump, no one is above the law. Remember those famous words? Now she's ducking behind technicalities and lawyered up letters to dodge the consequences of her own alleged misconduct. And this is what happens when you get partisan prosecutors using the law as a political bully pulpit. It eventually comes back on you. Greg Jarrett nailed it. He said, James is a lawyer. She knew the importance of accuracy in financial documents. Not to mention she was the attorney general. She's the chief law enforcement officer of the state of New York. Surely she'd have been very careful to avoid any of this. She held Trump responsible for paperwork prepared by his accountants. So what's her excuse? Letitia James's office says this is all political, of course. Well, maybe it is. But if it is, it's no different from the political warfare she's been waging for years now, right? What am I missing here? And it's that standard that she wants. She wants a different standard used for her, but she wants to apply a different one to Donald Trump. Now, this isn't just about one official. It's about the abuse of prosecutorial power. It's about whether the legal system is going to protect the people or be hijacked by political operatives in nice suits, expensive suits. It's the allegations are true if Letitia James betrayed the public trust, and she should be held accountable, just like anyone else, right? You agree? She made her name attacking Trump, but now she might become the example of what happens when you play dirty and you think that you are untouchable, that she's above the law, because she really does, doesn't she? She's really arrogant. She's really taking advantage of her position. She did all along. She had a political vendetta against Donald Trump, and she thought she would destroy him and keep him from going back to the White House. The only problem, she underestimated the American people. She underestimated our ability to see a political opportunist at what they really are, because that's what she is. The irony, she said Trump tried to put himself above the law, but it looks like she's the one who thought she could break it and get away with it. And she actually did something. The lesson that she needs to learn is no one is above the law. And maybe she should try listening to her own suggestions, to her own self for once. I don't wish anybody harm, but she deserves it, doesn't she? Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. With the way the American people spoke out last November, you would have thought that all of these companies and states and other officials would have gotten the message that people are just tired of all of this transsexual type messaging, and the whole idea that there are different multiple genders, more than just a male and female. I mean, you may have saw last week where Nancy Mason, yes, sometimes Nancy Mace seems to be really far out there, but when she called Clemson University's attention to the fact that they, on one application, they had like 15 different gender choices. Clemson immediately said, we'll take care of that. We're going to take that off. But you still have some of these officials around the country. You've got some states like Maine's been in the spotlight. And we got another story from Maine, an update on the GOP representative up there, Laurel Libby, who found herself censured by the State House Speaker because of some of her stance. But we'll get to that in just a minute. We have just learned, and this was from a report from the New York Times. Just like Nike itself, many major organizations, athletes with ties to the global sports organizations, have been unresponsive when it comes to evidence suggesting that these companies and these big sports stars allegedly are funding a child transgender athlete study. So here's the story. A week ago, the New York Times published an article about former San Jose State volleyball player Blair Fleming, a biological male who identifies as a woman and competed on the women's team last season. In the more than 10,000-word story was a single paragraph about a, quote, ambitious study of trans adolescents being led by Catherine Ackerman of Boston Children's Hospital and an associate professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. Now, among the researchers working on the study is Joanna Harper, a biological male who identifies as a woman. You follow me? Details of the study, as it mentions hormone therapy and children medically transition, is quite shocking. But it's where some of the money for the study is allegedly coming from that really is very shocking. Zingerell wrote, referring to Harper, but she told me when we talked in February, the current climate makes the study somewhat uncertain. I assume she was referring to the Trump administration's cuts to National Institute of Health research grants, but she said money was not a problem. The study is being funded by Nike. The problem was Trump's separate order targeting medical care for transgender youth, they wrote. If we can't perform gender-affirming care, then we can't bring people into the study. So that was the problem. Nike has written a big fat check, but the researchers are afraid of the Trump administration, the executive order, banning any of these type studies or this type of care. Now, the company has been kind of silent, according to this article. It's been silent on the matter for days after the Times story. I'm sure that somebody probably had a light stroke when they heard that the New York Times had probably innocently enough written this. They failed to respond to several requests for comments before a Nike executive with knowledge of the situation finally contacted Outkick to say the study was never initialized and is not moving forward. They didn't provide any details, any clarification there as to whether or not they really had funded it, but now they've decided it's not such a good idea or what. Outkick, according to the story, reached out to many of Nike's star representatives and organizations via email and or direct messages on social media with a request for comment regarding the alleged study and whether it impacted their perspective on their partnership. Some of them involved USA Basketball, the U.S. men's and women's national soccer teams, the WNBA, as well as Nike athletes, including Caitlin Clark, Nella Corda, Paige Buckers, Brooks Koepka, Kevin Durant, Naomi Osaka, and Diana Taurasi. They didn't respond, any of them, to requests for comments on the story. Outkick, they say, will continue to follow up with these and other athletes and organizations to see if they'll respond about this concerning study. I don't think you're going to get a response because they all know they've been caught. Now, back to Maine State Representative Laura Libby. She said yesterday she will appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court for emergency intervention after lawmakers censured her over a social media post about a transgender athlete. Now, this is how nuts this issue has gone. The Republican lawmaker will ask the Supreme Court to correct a federal appeals court decision which ruled against her in her request for a preliminary injunction to prevent the sanction. Libby, in her statement, said, "For over 60 days, my constituents have had no say in any actions taken by their government, actions that directly impact their lives. Every vote taken on the floor of the legislature is a vote my constituents cannot get back. The good people of our district have been silenced and disenfranchised. We are hopeful the court will act swiftly to halt the Democrats' ongoing violation of the Constitution and suppression of dissenting voices, even as the broader case continues through the appeals process." Now, the state's Democrat majority voted to censure her for writing a social media post that identified a trans athlete who won a girls' state pole vault competition in February. Representative Libby filed a lawsuit against House Speaker Ryan Fecteau to have it overturned, but Rhode Island U.S. District Court Judge Melissa DuBose ruled against Libby earlier this month. The First Circuit Court of Appeals also ruled against Representative Libby. Libby said she was willing to take her case to the Supreme Court if that's what it takes. She said, quote, "Our appeal asked the court to correct this abuse of power and reaffirm that legislative leadership cannot use procedural maneuvers and sweeping assertions of immunity to sideline dissenting voices and disenfranchise entire communities." I mean, they really stepped out there, didn't they? When they censured a sitting member of their House of Representatives because they disagree with her common sense. She simply was questioning something that the entire country has questioned. Where have they been? Did they not hear the voices of the American people that we're over this kind of stuff? We're over young men pretending to be women so they can play be more competitive in women's sports. I mean, the president was very clear with his executive order. The NCAA, very clear that they're not going to tolerate this anymore as a result of President Trump shaming them into it, not because they came to this realization on their own. Libby represents 9,000 constituents in Maine's 90th House District and has not been able to speak or vote on their behalf in the state legislature for 2 months now because of these idiots. This is the world we live in, folks. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.